Looks like it went now.
Yeah, there's a flash.
Okay. All right, let me get everything pulled back up now because that Zoom's. I need to really work on finding something other than Zoom. I, I have been so busy lately trying to get stuff cooking again at the leagues. I did a lot of work yesterday for the league. I was pretty happy with myself. It's been a while. All right. Anyways, everybody's hearing the pre-ramble if anybody's there yet.
uh, no viewers, but
Okay.
it was definitely pumping out.
That's fair. Where is the record button for Zoom? Why can't I find it?
So we still have to do the like join every 40 minutes thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
For now. But I can't find the record button for Zoom. Why can't I find it? Oh, record.
Recording in progress.
There we go. Okay. Hitting the button.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Maximum effort. In this war, there's no surrender. He's out of line, but he's right. Who the hell's Bucky? You don't like a fair fight. I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it.
Think you're the only superhero in the world?
Touché.
All right, welcome to another week of the Rogue Agents. Sorry for being a little bit late because I had some technical difficulties with the Twitch stream. I guess it's in good news because we hit affiliate status. I had to reset some things that I was not aware of. So sorry if anybody's here yet.
And thank you.
Thank you for showing up as always.
You all made this possible.
And we hit pretty quick, so I'm pretty happy with that. So there are some pretty cool emotes now in the chat that you can click on. We got the Thanos and the.
We have my favorite emote ever.
I thought I had Cable too. I must have missed that one. But we got a bunch of emotes now, so that's always cool. But let's go ahead and jump into it. First of all, thanks everybody for stopping by and joining us on today's episode. And again, as Sam said, this is all. Well, I'm really bad with words tonight. All thanks to you,
Pull it together.
listeners. I forgot my catchphrase that I put off on last week's episode. What was it? I don't remember now. I should have written it down.
We're the Rogue Agents, and you're the listener.
It was
Oh,
along
yeah.
those lines. All right. Well, let's jump into it. Let's go ahead and jump right into announcements. So in case you missed it, AMG streamed the other day, and on their painting stream, they were painting Black Dwarf. Oh my god, Black Swan.
Yeah.
And they actually mentioned that Black Order will be getting another leadership, so I'm sure Hyper Viper and Finger Guns are both super excited about that. So that's
I cannot wait.
pretty
I just
awesome.
want to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see it as well, because things like this.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
We really need to play with this jingle thing a little bit more and get some more soundboards in here. But anyways. So it was pretty cool seeing Black Order get some pretty cool things coming on. Hopefully we get to see the cards next week, so that'll be good. Yeah, so they also spoke on the card pack. Someone had asked them about why certain cards and all that, and there's been the spec. Schick actually mentioned that it's kind of more along the lines to go into the timeline scene that they had talked about in the core rules. So I just kind of want to talk about that real quick. What do you guys think about that? Like the timelines format, is this gonna be good for the game, bad for the game? Are you excited for it? What do you think? Start with Sam.
I'm excited for it. I'm always excited for new things and new ways to play and test around with stuff. But I was initially super against the battle realms, and then I got kind of hyped for it, and then it just kind of petered out, and I lost interest. I played some battle realms games, and I didn't even like complete the series of games that I played for that. It's just like, by the end of it, I was like, maybe not. I got tired of playing the same stuff, which usually happens for me with limited formats where I'm initially super hype about it, and then something changes. But for me, I have enjoyed every aspect of MCP, and if it takes hold, I'll gladly play it. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like whatever it winds up being, I'll do it. I'll enjoy it. And if it becomes kind of the standard, I think the concern for me in anything like this is, well, it's like we don't have a huge community. So whatever the standard kind of game winds up being, that's what most people want to play the most of. And everything else is kind of secondary to that. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited to play with Brace and Patch Up. I'm kind of curious if they are restricted at all in a timeline format, right? Like if those are the only two restricted cards, does it even matter if they're restricted or not? But I'm excited. I want to see where it goes, and I have a lot of faith in these guys. They seem to care a lot about this game, and they're engaged and involved. So they want to make a product they're proud of too. So I'm excited.
What about you, Hyper Pepper?
I honestly have a pretty small brain answer. I don't understand it. So like I get timeline stuff, like you have like the set symbols from Magic or whatever. So like they have all the little pictures on the corner of these cards, and it's like, oh, like you can play the ones with the building or the Spider-Man symbol or the X-Men. And as far as that goes, I'm like, all right, cool. So I can see there's like a premise for this, but I, like Sam was saying, the community, and I'm not sure if this is true of everywhere, but it's certainly true of where I play. And where I play is actually, like, as far as I can tell, pretty doing okay at community wise. It's even like explained to new players, like, yeah, there straight up is a ban list already in this game. And like there is a restricted list. Like there are certain cards you can only have a couple of. That's already kind of a hurdle. And I don't think, like, realistically, that if they implement that being the standard of play, like, oh, in this current time, like you're only playing with these X cards. If someone comes in and they have a card that's not on the ban list or whatever, I'm not going to be like, I'm sorry, you cannot play that card, and you played like 4 times. I don't like it. It's got to be. There's no way it'll be the standard. I think it'll be an alternate format, which I'm totally fine with, and having like some more restrictive play patterns will be cool. Yeah. I'm not sure. I can't see a world where it becomes the standard. They've said multiple times, like, hey, we want people to be able to play the stuff they want to play. Even when MODOK was like running this game, they were like, we're not going to ban MODOK. MODOK's cool. Yeah. I don't think there's ever going to be a point in this game where they're like super restrictive in what you can take. Like the tactics cards are one thing. But like this would be tantamount to banning like a third of the core box tactics, right? So like that.
No, actually, it's all the core box tactics are in that card pack, except for
like seeing red isn't there, is it?
It's it's only a couple from the core. Yeah, it's a handful from the core. It's a lot of what's been released since then. So I mean, it does get really interesting. I don't completely understand the selection, so I'm really excited to hear what they have to say at Mini Stravaganza, like about it and the selection process.
I guess my thoughts are like, my biggest fear with it is like if it's like just card pack 2022, then like what happens with the new stuff that comes out? That just gonna be like a little like fact in there that says, hey, new stuff that comes out is part of this. And it's like, well, really, what's the point of even doing this timelines format anyways at that point? Like, and I don't agree quite with getting rid of character specific cards or affiliation specific cards. Like, I think timelines format should be limited only to the unaffiliated cards. That's just my thoughts on it, because it'd feel bad to be like, I'm playing Venom, but I can't play Lethal Protector. Like that'd be super feels bad. So I think if they do this, like, I'm the same. I'm hopeful. And I'm really curious to see how they go about doing it. But I really hope that it excludes character and affiliated cards. That's my biggest hope. Unaffiliated, I don't care. I think that'd be great. I guess like a comparison, almost in a way, would be when War Machine came out with the Masters program, right? Like when they first came out with that, it was, hey, here are 5 things that you can play with. These are your leaders. These are the 5 leaders for this rotation series. And if that's kind of like the idea they're going with this timelines format, it almost is kind of interesting to think about that. Like, are tactics cards the most powerful part of this game?
Maybe accidentally to a large extent.
But if you think about it, like if that's the thing that's being rotated, then you would think that from a dev perspective that they're judging this as the most powerful part of the game because it's the thing that's being rotated. Because I think he said some of the lines at Crisis weren't being rotated. And obviously characters would never get rotated because I'd feel bad if I characters not be able to play them. Right. So if they're only rotating tactics cards, that is, from my perspective, like they're saying this is the most powerful part and this is what needs to be controlled of what you can play with and win.
That's an interesting perspective. I like a lot of the stuff that's been like this tactic card just wins me the game has been banned by this point, like Hired Muscle, and so that's a really interesting take. But honestly, like I said, I'm kind of small brain on this issue. I don't really know what they're going for. So the biggest
Yep.
thing for me is I just want to like Sam was saying, I want to hear at Mini Extravaganza or whenever they end up doing it. I want to be like, yeah, what were y'all thinking? Like, what was the idea here?
Yeah, I'm super curious to see what happens. Which brings me to my next point, and this is kind of an on the spot question, unless you read the show notes. What do you guys
Who
think
would
about,
dare do that?
what do you
Oops.
what do you guys potentially think about if we have time, of course, because I know we all like to do things and have lives and all that, but potentially live streaming the stream. I think
Oh, for
it'd be
Mini
kinda cool.
Extravaganza?
Yeah, if we can pull it off, we could
Yeah,
try.
if I'm available, I'd love to.
Yeah, if we can do it. If we can, yeah, I'd love
Depends on
to
what time it is or, like,
reaction,
what
day it
reaction
is.
video.
Yeah.
Oh, straight up. Let's get the YouTube, the Pog faces out.
Oh yeah.
I'm just gonna run around.
Oh, if only Super Giant's card and Black Dwarf were being revealed at Mini Extravaganza, then you'd actually do that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're gonna get regular reveals, so I'll just see them and do that in the privacy of my own home, like a regular person.
Right.
I'm
Missed
holding,
opportunity.
I'm holding hope for Apocalypse. Maybe the week before Mini Extravaganza, we'll do a prediction episode, and that's what we'll do.
I really thought we were just gonna get silhouettes like from like now until
Yeah.
Mini Extravaganza. So I'm
Yeah,
kind of
the
surprised
cards.
by that
We're
we're
gonna
getting
get who?
more than that. Just silhouettes. Just
Oh, yeah,
like
I
the
hear
silhouette shots when they started doing that. It was like, oh man, I bet they just drip out like one of those a week until Mini Extravaganza, and then like we get all that. You're like, all right, this
you.
is
Do y'all
what they
think
are.
we'll get? I know we're kind of just hopping into speculation now, but do you think we're gonna see another Asgard pack teased before Mini Extravaganza, so it
I
can
think-
release alongside Heimdall and Scourge?
I think yes. I don't know about before Mini Extravaganza, but within the next like either between then and now, or sorry, I said then, or maybe shortly after, or maybe even during. But they gotta come out with Jane Foster.
Oh yeah,
I think it's gonna happen because I don't see Heimdall or Scourge being an Asgard leader. Who knows? Maybe we'll get
mean,
Odin.
she like
but
shouldn't either, but I could see it
Yeah.
happening.
I think they just because of the movie. Like
Yeah, I agree. She'll be the second Thor leader.
yeah, absolutely. But no, I
What else would you bring?
I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens with it. And sorry, excuse me. I'm really curious to see what Mini Extravaganza will bring. I'm holding hope for Apocalypse because I have been wanting him since the X-Men came out. I thought he'd be like the year mark for X-Men. They come out with Apocalypse, but not quite.
Man,
As much as I love Apocalypse, I think a big part of why he's not getting the respect he deserves in the modern era is because of that atrocious movie they made with him.
you
That's
shut your
fair.
mouth.
Do you like X-Men Apocalypse?
I wouldn't say that. I like Oscar Isaac, and it was disappointing.
Well, of
Like,
course, I love Oscar Isaac, but he's like,
yeah. It
You
was
know.
sad. It was sad. Like it was. I don't. So I love most movies, just like as a general rule. I got that from my dad. I don't know if it's like a blessing or a curse, but like I'll walk into almost any movie and I'll walk out being like, that was enjoyable. Now, like 3 to 6 weeks after that, I'll develop a much stronger opinion, like one way or another, that I start ripping things apart in my head. But that was a movie that like I fell asleep, and that's like the death knell for a movie for me. It's like if it puts me to sleep the first time I watch it, I'm never gonna have a real positive opinion. But
Yep.
it's been out long enough now that when I look back at it, I almost look back at it fondly. So I'm gonna have to rewatch it because it's in a weird headspace for me now.
I might do that tonight. I'm gonna hop on a plane at like midnight, so I need to stay awake. Maybe I'll watch some Apocalypse and try and not remember that Psylocke gets like one line.
Okay. Since we're on it anyways, and we just like to ramble, and it's great. Like, the one thing that I hate about that whole entire series is who they got to play Charles Xavier. That's like my biggest gripe with that whole entire.
Oh,
series.
you don't mean Patrick Stewart, because we were about to have words.
No.
Okay.
That one's fine. I'm talking about the one for First Class and the Apocalypse
Yeah,
movie.
I get you.
I don't like. I don't. It's not that I don't like that actor. I just don't think he was right for Charles Xavier.
I
really
agree. He's a
don't.
good actor, but yeah, he's not good for Charles.
Yeah. That's my 2 cents there. I thought Age of Apocalypse was fine though. It's not a terrible movie.
I like him. He's fine.
Yeah.
He's too young, in my opinion, to be Charles. But
that's
like-
my biggest thing is he's just too young. He doesn't fit the role. He's not like because like when I think of like Charles Xavier, even like when they show like the stuff of him younger, like he was like mature for his age. At always like he was always that like like super
I'm glad
knowledgeable, wise person.
They kept in the part of his powers that makes him bald, and I thought that was extremely funny. Because that's a thing in the comics, is like he's
Yeah.
such a powerful brain that his hair falls out. It's like, oh, they actually kept that in. So he's doing the like drugs that take away his powers. He has hair again. I thought that was very timely. But yeah, no, it's just unfortunately X-Men's ruined because Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are the best possible characters for those roles, and they're too old to want to do it anymore. So
Yeah.
whoopsie daisy. Did it too well in the early 2000s, and now Marvel became like the biggest property on the planet.
Yeah.
Whoopsie.
Yeah, which segued so well into the Logan movie, but we should probably get back to
Yeah.
MCP. One last new thing is today the Twitter announcement was that Black Order affiliation box. I think I'm gonna say my
So
thoughts
cool.
first. I think it's awesome. I really hope they do this with everything because one, it reduces the barrier to entry where people complaining about price because it's such a great point price value. Like people who like maybe even mess up their paint jobs probably would go buy that box again just to make a better paint job because it's so cost effective. It's really like that's like the biggest thing for it. It's going to reduce SKU bloat for stores, which stores are going to want to actually again support the product more. And then people getting into the game is just huge. And I really hope that they continue this with every single affiliation.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, not much to say about that.
Every small affiliation should get one of these boxes ASAP.
I think every
that'll change a lot.
affiliation. I think every affiliation should get it. Just like even if
Oh, how you do it for Avengers though?
Avengers have 3.
Or they just have one like $100 box. I saw someone saying that.
I don't think it's a bad idea though. Like if you just do.
No, I don't either.
Like I wouldn't even say the whole affiliation. I would just say like the popular characters. Maybe even if you just do like an MCU lineup, like you just do a theme box, like
right, Disney Plus Core.
Yeah.
Oh, the Defenders, the Netflix Defenders get a box. That would actually sell.
Yeah, it would. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it. Hobby review from last week's episode. We all failed, from my knowledge.
I haven't been home since our last episode, so that's my excuse.
Yeah, my whole family got sick.
I been doing stuff for the TTS League.
Ooh.
To be honest, like I guess full transparency here, we've been having a lot of discussions and prep and trying to make sure that we're not rushing the gun too far and we're not jumping right into it. We almost were going to say that we're going to start a league in literally like a week. Like it was.
Yeah, I saw that, and then it was like 100 to 1 people being like, "No, not this month, please."
So we dropped that. I guess for anybody looking for information on the league, we're looking at probably after mini extravaganza because we want to see this. Nothing's confirmed yet, so it might be before it, but I think we're leaning more towards after mini extravaganza, just because if they do come out with timelines, we might be running that format. I don't really know. So everybody's aware and knows transparency. But yeah, we're just doing a lot of work between setting up survey forms and ensuring that stuff is getting better and just doing stuff for the house and cleaning around. I have had no time to paint, and I've been playing games and been in a big rut with my games lately. So makes me want to play more. Makes me want to play more because then I'm just like, if I start losing, I'm like, I gotta get a win. It's been hard. Like
that was one of my original Magic buddies and I. Like that's what we would just do. We'd get on streaks against each other and we just wind up playing like all day or all night and just until like we just figure something out or give up.
Well, it's like I got home from work today and my wife had a friend over and I was like, I'm gonna go upstairs and get the painting done that I'm supposed to get done by the end of the day. And I was like, I'm gonna paint it real quick. And then I get on and next thing I know, I'm playing a game with DeLuca and it's like, oh, as I get downstairs, she's like, oh, you're playing a game. I thought you were gonna paint. I'm like, yeah, I thought I was too.
I can't even say I fall into that trap because I just never paint. I just like, ooh, I want to do something crisis related, and then I hit TTS. I'm like, oh wait, oops, I got a game.
Yeah.
Well, there's 2 hours of my life.
Right.
Yeah. So moving on to challenge of the week. I would say I like finger guns list probably the most out of everything. But I don't want to pick.
Yeah. No, don't keep it incestuous. We can talk about my list if you want to, but give the Nada prize to somebody else.
So I liked Laugh 1388's list. One, it's fastball, special focused, and he's running Space Maw in X-Force, and I really kind of like the thought of it, and it has me kind of exploring that space as well as Craven and Sabretooth. I've actually been trying Craven in X-Force, and I'm kind of liking it, and I kind of want to continue that route of testing things out, but I'm gonna be trying Maw next a bit more. But I really kind of like this list. It was really fun. I played it once.
Keep up the work, Barn Cat. It's working.
I was about to say, honestly, shout outs to
Mom.
that dude.
Space Moss
Actually, just like
everywhere.
committed to the bit so hard.
Space Maw. We need to get a Space Maw emoji next.
Yeah.
For Barn Cat, yeah.
All right, where are we at for time? I don't want to get started into the main topic and then all of a sudden have to stop.
Oh, we're 20 minutes in. Let's do
Okay.
it. Let's just cut
Yeah.
it now and come back.
You just want to cut it now and go back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. Quick intermission, as always, because we're experts at this.
Are we doing the Zoom thing?
Yeah, we're gonna do this
Yeah,
thing real quick.
we'll switch over.
Okay.
All right.
Real quick, what's DeLuca playing? Can you like MCP dox him?
Still streaming.
Better at stuff you already know how to play.
That's been like my big issue with X-Force lately. Is I don't know, it's just been a bad time lately. I took too long playing Shield and testing them out that I lost my strat, I guess. But all right, let's go ahead and hit record and get back on topic.
Recording in progress.
Okay. Shield and free Sam.
All right, I'm gonna be right back.
Yeah. All right. So today's main topic, we're gonna, as you can tell from the title, it's called "What a Crisis," because we will be talking crises today. And the biggest things we want to hit on is gonna be strengths and weaknesses of the crises and what affiliations come to mind when discussing them. And I think we can just go ahead and start with secures, because I think that's probably a lot of times. I still think secures kind of make up your game and make up like your decision points. I still think that pretty heavily, even though extracts will determine some things and some extracts overpower secures. But I think for the most point, secures really shape what your squad ends up looking like, because that's where people are going to be. Like if it's a E, I'm going to take a bunch of heavy hitting killers. And if it's like a D, I want mobile people, stuff like that. So I guess we can go ahead and start off with pay to flips versus securing. What are your thoughts when it comes to pay to flips versus securing?
I love pay to flips. I got addicted to them. I played Black Order at NashCon last year, and I got knocked out on Spider Portals, and it was humbling, I want to say, because like I knew that I had no game on Spider Portals with the roster that I was playing. Yeah. And at the same time, I, as a player, literally had nothing in my toolkit to mitigate it. And so when things didn't go my way in that game, like starting with priority, going into Spider Portals, and then like with some actual dice in the game, like I didn't get diced or anything like that, but I just had some rolls that I needed to go one way and they did not. And that was that. I like took it upon myself to be like, okay, I'm going to figure these things out. And I played, I want to say like 8 months of
Hello.
Welcome back.
Hello.
I played like 8 months of pay to flips almost exclusively, so far as what I was putting in my own rosters. And so I would say the real benefit of a pay to flip is you do not have to stand around and wait to die. Yeah. And that's that. I think that pay to flips play really well into the tall and elite teams. And they also play really well into the runaway teams, because if all they're going to do is run away with that force or with those few key pieces, you have so much opportunity to just like flip those secures and start collapsing on whatever they have left.
Well, not only that, but if you got your pay to flips and if you're paying to flip and then you just run away, your opponent has the choice of either I go and flip these or I chase you down to get the extracts back. So it really comes down to a lot of decision points that you're creating for your opponent.
Oh yeah, and grabbing things from underneath their defending models. It's like it's when you're playing on a standard secure, they've got one body. You bring a body over, you deny the point. The pay to flip, you can bring that body over, and you might either score that point from out underneath them, or like you're just going to stand there together, and that's that. And now they're still getting a point, and you're not. Like I guess one last thing about pay to flips that just like I have to get off my head or it's going to bother me is I think that they keep the pace of the game going a lot better than the standard secure lines because somebody always scores them. There's no contested tie. Like you're getting it or I'm getting it, period. And like,
or you messed up your first turn flip and you're not getting it that game.
Yeah, that's also true.
Which I feel like happens to me all the time. But I do love pay to flips. My my season 7 list, I was playing Avengers and it was like every pay to flip in the game.
Yeah.
So it was like, I can pretty much do this better than anybody. Like Web Warriors, like you were saying, or I guess more generically as runaway teams, they can't really do that unless they have a gigantic lead. And at that point, the game's already over. Tall teams, again, like you were saying, they have less chances. It's less good. So just like it opens up a play pattern that I'm glad exists in this game. And it's different. It's not like I know Deadly Meteors is core box, but that one's kind of, like sword base is very similar.
Right.
But the all or nothing ones I don't love. I have a tough time not putting Mutant Madmen in every list. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. So I was having
a lot of players do.
I was having a discussion with someone about the other day, and that's like pretty much everybody plays Mutant Madmen these days. I think a lot of that comes from the fear of coming across CS, and people think that CS really aren't that great at Mutant Madmen, which I think they're fine at it. It's not like it's not towing into their strengths of Kingpin leadership, but I think especially with Daredevil, I think CS is perfectly fine with Mutant Madmen these days.
Yeah, it's the first one I dropped. I don't run when I throw my pay to flips now. It's the one that I don't bring.
I'm leaning more towards not bringing it. But
it's kind of like hammers at this point. Like it's like nobody really has a true advantage on it.
I disagree. I think Avengers nail it. Avengers and Fury probably, but like having like Black Panther, Iron Man, and Luke Cage all in affiliation, it's pretty hard to lose Madmen if you're playing a solid lineup of Avengers. But it's also just like it's the comfiest secure. Like it's like Infinity Formula where it's just like the way you guys talked about hammers. That's how I feel about a Finley formula. Like everyone's pretty good at it, and then CS ruined it for me. Like they ruin everything. But it's comfy. Like no one's in super amount of danger really quickly. It's a B. Like everyone's kind of spread out. You don't like if you roll a skull, it doesn't just like ruin your day.
Right.
It's comfy.
That's fair. So if we're gonna break this down, then like if you said pay to flip versus secures, do you want to give some examples of teams that really want to play pay to flips or secures, or is it really more generic and anybody can play pay to flips and be fine on them? I think CS Kingpin led is probably the only team that you could straight up say this team wants to play non pay to flips. I don't
think Webs like it either.
I guess true because they don't like the power spend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, most teams really don't mind the pay to flips, and like I typically like to run like 2 pay to flips and 1 non pay to flip. Is what I do for most teams that end up making. Like I think it's good.
I'm perfectly comfortable with that. Yeah, the 2-to-1 ratio is fine. I think that the Asgard and X-Men have an interesting interaction with them, between first class for X-Men and then the extra power, and then kind of just the stat lines that are available in those affiliations. I don't think that it's really an advantage. So it's an advantage earlier, but not so much later. I think with Asgard, you've got a bunch of expensive pieces that you kind of have to run to get that advantage. So you're like seeding ground as you're trying to make it up in a different direction. And then first class only works on the first turn. So, I mean, it's not like you're really advantaged on those. I think that it's just it lets you play a different game than the stand around and die.
Yeah.
I think a lot of folks I've been seeing play X-Men recently are just like taking first class way less than me. At least because when I play X-Men, I'm not super experienced with X-Men. I take it almost every game just because I'm like, ooh, power generation, good. Help me go fast. But turn 1 stuff is honestly like I know turn one stuff is like the turn one play. That phrase is like kind of generic for just OP stuff you can do super early. It doesn't win you the game. It's honestly not that good. I think that's why we see less and less like Angela and Amazing Spider-Man, because their ability to just move up, take stuff, and move back is not always worth 5 points. It's not always enough to help you like just coast out of victory.
I could agree with that. You got to have a good start, and then if you're going to have like that turn one play that gives you that head start, then you got to have that longevity as well to actually like benefit from that good start. Otherwise, you play something like Black Order where I'm going to start from behind and I'm just going to catch up and I'm going to get ahead of you because you're playing the turtle.
Right.
Like it's like the turtle versus the hare. Like, do you want to start fast and then you burn out really quickly, or do you want to slowly just keep going? I think it's hard to find that middle ground. I think that's actually kind of, I never really thought about this way until just now, but like comparing like these affiliations and like turtle versus hare, like which ones are doing what. Like Black Order is definitely like the turtle in my opinion. Like they have that consistency, they keep going and they do the same thing, and then eventually they just end up winning because the game went long enough and the other team got tired out. Versus something like Web Warriors or X-Men, they want it to be a fast game so that way they can like do their benefit at the super early turn, get the benefit going for them. Same thing with Shield. I found this with Shield a lot is they get the benefits
Peter out
early,
for sure.
So and then I think it's kind of interesting to look at in that aspect of like what affiliations are the turtle, which one's the hare, and then what really kind of falls in the middle.
I think Asgard has an interesting place there. Avengers is far more of a turtle than I think they get credit for. I don't know.
Depends on which Avengers.
Sure.
Like my season 7 list was pure Avengers, but I had setups for different things.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I wanted to do the score out super quickly thing, my core was like Steve, Black Cat, and Hulk. And I would just throw people off of points, advance 30 power to cat, and steal everything, blah blah blah, play Dr. Voodoo.
Right.
And that was like my control-y score out of the game. And that would peter out. Like if I tried to play that into Black Order, I'd probably lose because I just run out of bodies. And then I had Sam for grindy games where Sam is fantastic at that.
So my question then, like I know we're going not really off topic, but kind of at the same time. But do you think tall or wide correlates to turtle or hare when we're like talking about this in that aspect? Or do you think that that's completely irrelevant?
I wouldn't say it's completely irrelevant, but and this is just like me thinking about it for 3 seconds.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's super indicative. Like you can like Guardians are very much a turtle in this analogy as well, right? And they go pretty wide, but they're also gonna try and kill you.
Yeah.
And then like Asgard, even though I feel like those characters at the core of like what those characters are supposed to be, quote unquote, are a hare. Like they just kind of come back, or there's like a good staying power. But unfortunately, realistically, they end up being more of a turtle or of a hare, where they're trying to like just control you out of the game, if that makes sense. And they're pretty tall.
That's fair.
I think Asgard wants to be 5 wide for the most part, for whatever that's worth.
Yeah, I could see that.
And I think that the leadership gives them more staying power than the average hare. But they definitely want to get an early lead and then just kind of milk it. Like my favorite games with Asgard were the ones where, you're scoring out by the end of 3 or 4, because that's just how hard you came in. You just want to, shock and awe with your god status. And then the leadership's just kind of like, all right, well, if it goes long, I've got this to fall back on.
Yeah. Completely fair. Do you guys want to hit on all or nothing secures?
So that's like Sword and Deadly Meteors, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are the only 2, aren't they?
They're pretty rough. I know like a handful of folks who are diehard Sword fans, and I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. I don't love it anymore. It used to be like the skill check at 14 was big, and it was like a very competitive thing you could do.
Yeah.
Just be like, oh, if you can't do this, I just win.
Yeah.
But now it's just kind of okay. I think the Crisis is like, I'm not going to say poorly designed, but just it's very snowball-y. Like if one person gets a lead, it can very easily snowball into a win because they just keep pushing you and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. So I'm going to interrupt real quick because I had a tinfoil hat today and I completely forgot to talk about this during announcements. So, and I'm going to forget again if I don't hit it right now. So I might as well hit it right now. I'm going to derail the conversation. It's all about Crises. but derailed at the same time. So I have a theory that the reason why there aren't crisis cards in the card pack for 2022 is they're reworking the crisis cards, and that's the big announcement for Mini Extravaganza. That's my expectation, because if you think about it, they designed all these crisis cards back in the day, and it would only make sense to like rework them kind of to be what the game is now, because there are some crises that you could tell like the difference between core set crises and nowadays crises. And I would think that if you look at across like a lot of the platforms that people talk about the game, one of the bigger things that I see that's complained about is like the crises. Either we need more crises or the crises need to be reworked. A lot of people complain about herbs. I wish we still had panic, because panic.
Same team.
Like I love panic so much. I don't think it needs to be
Fix
as
panic.
egregious. Yeah, fix it, but bring it back. I love that B-shape extract.
Yes.
But my tinfoil hat is they're going to be releasing a crisis card pack that has updates to the crises. That's my tinfoil.
Honestly, give me some of that tinfoil. Throw a med pack in there so people can finally stop complaining about that. Like give like med pack and field dressing, and then all the new crisis cards would just be like, this is the pack you buy if you're going to tournaments, and I'm sold.
Yeah. Or they make a crises that the extract is the med pack. Oh, that'd be crazy. Anyways,
I would love
crazy
to play a crises where I can go pick something up with Thanos and heal for 3. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it'd be limited to heal to 1, but where I'm not a game developer by any means. But that's my tinfoil hat. Is I think they might be reworking the crises, and that's why they're not included with the card pack itself.
I would love for that to be true.
Yeah,
that'd be great. I think crises are the only thing. Like when I saw that there were no crises in the card pack, I was kind of saddened by that, because that's been like the hardest sell for me for new players. Is like, hey, yeah, you can enjoy playing at 17.
Well, it's like it doesn't make sense for them to release a card pack that has everything. It has everything except for the crises, and that's what kind of got me thinking about that. Is like, it only makes sense that there's going to be a crises pack, and it would only make sense that they either add some more crises, or they might have reworked some of them, because I really hope they bring panic back, and the only way to do that is to rework it. And I really hope they slightly change herbs, because it is like the only thing that people look to break. Like all the other crises, people just play, but herbs, people are just have this heart for breaking it and like trying to like figure out what is the most jank I could do to make round 1 herbs. And if that's something that people are doing with a crisis, something needs to change with it.
Jank or blank.
Yeah, that's what it is though. So that's just my thoughts on it. Like tinfoil hat, we'll take it off now, but tinfoil hat idea is hopefully a crises rework and a crises pack, because they need to. It helps new players. It really does, and it helps me, because it'd be awesome to be right about this.
You heard it here first, folks.
And I'll be wrong. I'll be majorly wrong.
At least you tried, right?
At least I tried. Yeah. So yeah, all or nothing secures though. Getting back on track. I think they're fine if they are, I guess, more fair. I think Meteors is way more fair than Sword is. And if Sword was flip-flopped to where the loser got to do the push, then I think Sword would be perfectly fine. But the fact that Sword is you win all the points and you get the push, it makes Sword super egregious. And the fact that it's 14 thread. 14 thread's an interesting thing in my opinion. I'm not gonna say neither here. Like,
I completely agree.
I'll counterpoint you guys on Sword, but go ahead.
I think everything you said pretty much is true. Meteors like actively punishes you for trying to flip the points, because you can take damage, and then Sword is like, oh, if you flip the points, you win. But yeah, go ahead. I want to hear this counterpoint.
Yeah, let's go.
So I'm not a huge fan of so level the playing field, right? So if anything is wrong about Sword, it's the push, period. Right? That's just too strong. Giving that to the loser is almost like, do I want to not score 3 points to push that model? I think that the push is too strong. I don't think that giving it to the loser fixes Sword. I think it maybe makes it more interesting, but I certainly don't enjoy it more. And my point about Sword, there's two things, right? Because I think the push is the most important part. When I play Sword, I want to play the push. I'm not playing the points. I'm playing for the push, or I'm playing to defend against getting pushed. And I think that Sword is a hardcore attrition crisis. And so I think that with these all or nothing secures, especially the 3-0s like Deadly Meteors and Sword, you've got 3 turns to solve the game, and then you've got 3 turns to get ahead on points. So the first 3 turns on Sword, or even Deadly Meteors to a much lesser extent, are about positioning and trying. I'm never gonna like not try unless I need that power for something else later. But coming in, you want to get the actions and action economy that you need. So I don't think the Deadly Meteor or Sword are your traditional pay to flip Crisis in that aspect, right? So most pay to flip Crisis, in my opinion, you are giving up attacks for the most part to go and flip these things to score points. With Deadly Meteors and Sword, I think that you have to get those attacks. You need to get that attrition advantage. Having an advantage early on these things can definitely snowball 100%. Yeah. But if you can get an attrition advantage over those first 3 turns, you have 3 turns to recover, so long as you haven't lost track of the extract. So that's my counterpoint on Sword. I don't like it. I used to like it more. Now that you can't force 14, I think that it's still just Sword.
I will say, since you can't force 14 anymore, I think it makes it more playable.
Yeah,
I think,
but not more enjoyable.
Yeah. I think I'm not gonna go down that route. We'll just
sure.
let's move on.
To be a total I play in the TTS league kind of guy. Not being able to force Sword just make. And I have promised to never say garbage and never say bad on this, but it makes it a lot less competitively attractive.
It does.
It's just you can have your setup for 14 and your Sword, or you can have your crazy setup for what Cons and Herb at 15. The odds of you playing that at that level are slim to none.
Yeah.
Right. You got to run it on both sides. I think if you're going to run Sword, you got to run Senator too. Like if you want a 14 threat team that you're like, this is my 14 threat team, you got to run both of those.
Exactly.
And I love Senators. Senators rules.
A completely different thing. I agree. I love Senators. It's the hottest potato.
I had to paint my acrylic tokens because I realized the color was different. So I painted the top of them black, and now it actually works.
There you go. All right. So I have a question for you guys on this one to wrap up secures. So does the shape of the secure, I've heard this a lot. I've actually heard this in quite a few different places, not just one. So does the shape of the secure, does the amount of models you take to that shape actually matter? I think the biggest thing I've seen is on a B shape, you need at least 5 characters. Do you think this is true, or do you think that this is like a group thing going on and you could still play with 4 and be fine?
Speaking as someone who regularly plays Black Order at 17 on Infinity Formula, it's fine. You just need to think about it differently.
I think this is the wrong people for me to ask about this.
I have a more nuanced answer for what it's worth. I think that there are layers to Crisis Protocol, which is one of the things that I just love about it. Like ogres are like onions, like for real stuff. Because like there is a level of this game where like you come in and you're like, holy crap, like that's a lot of space. I need more bodies for this. And then the next layer of thought is like, oh, he's got a lot of little bodies on this. I need to bring a team that's going to keep priority for me and let me conquer one side. And then there's another layer beyond that. Like I don't necessarily know exactly what it is, but there's been so many layers to my Crisis Protocol experience where one approach gets countered by a different approach, gets countered by a different approach. So I think that, there are probably people out there who like just swear by, you got to have 5 bodies on a B shape or else you lose. And I think that there's other people who be like, no, I'm absolutely fine with 3 bodies. I'm going to conquer one side and I'm going to push over and we're going to figure this out.
Yeah. I think that's probably like the best way to look at it. Is it's also like an ever-changing meta, which I think is one of the coolest things about this game. Is a lot of people say that the amount of releases is too much sometimes, but the coolest thing about the amount of releases is the fact that the meta is constantly changing every single month with every single release. So it's like when you look at the game state, like it could be one thing right now, but in 3 weeks it's going to be completely different because of 2 characters. Like, and that's just how it is. Like, it's insane. I love it. It's ever changing and ever growing, and I hope they keep up the pace and don't stop.
The slow burn of that evolution is wonderful too, because like you look at Voodoo, who when he came out, everyone was like, "Oh, this character is cool. It's a lot of text under possession," and then about 6 months later, everyone's like, "This character." Oh man, I keep on forgetting to move my mic after I eat pasta. Everyone's like, "This character is the most broken thing. Please nerf right now, Daddy AMG." And this character was out in the wild chilling for a fat minute. I remember
Yeah.
when I was making my list for, I think it was either season 6 or season 5, when we had Enchantress and Medusa in their pre-nerf states.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not sure which one of these two I should take because I think they're about equal in power.
Right.
And then we all realized, oh, Enchantress is like the best control piece in the game, and Medusa is the best murder piece. And I didn't realize that those were different things.
Yeah.
Yep.
The slow burn kills me. I love it.
Yeah. How long has Thanos been out?
Well, it took almost a year for people to actually say Thanos is OP. Like
People thought
of his
Black Order
release.
was trash for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was when I came in. I came into that. I was like,
Same here.
oh man.
I've always
It's the
loved
underdog
them.
faction, and I get to play Thanos. Let's do this.
I
Wait,
was so bad at playing Thanos when he first came out that it stopped me. Like I was like, okay, I need my training wheels. So I started playing wide and just like learning how to play the game.
yeah,
It was the same experience when I started playing Brotherhood. I was like, oh, Magneto's really fun, but I'm losing because I have no idea what I'm doing besides just move forward, attack, throw thing.
Yeah.
So I had like, and now that I've stepped back and like gotten better playing other kinds of teams and like learning more, like, oh, I have more actions, I have more time to figure out what the heck I'm supposed to do in this game. Now I'm like, oh yeah, that cool purple guy, I like him. He's my friend.
Fair. All right. So moving on, let's go ahead and talk about single extracts. What are you guys' thoughts on those? Do you think that they are as broken in the game as commonly perceived? Because you see a lot of chat. Speaking of Voodoo, and let's say Black Cat even. Do you think single extracts are that game warping, or do you think it's just like Little Boy Cried Wolf?
I think that this is an entire like episode's worth of meta conversation. I think that that to a large extent, metas are self-fulfilling prophecies. So if everybody says, and they did, so like coming into this last TTS season, right, there was so much chatter about, oh my God, you can't play F extracts anymore because of this new priority rule and who gets to choose what and how it's going to work with points and how we get to handle this and that. So we can't play F extracts anymore. So what's the answer, right? Because we don't want to cede any advantage in the first turn. Let's play these random C-shape hot potatoes. And so these single extracts, well, okay, what excels at that? Somebody that can take it away from you, right? So like once this like semi-impossible thing to get found gets found, what do you need? Somebody to take that away. You need to daze them, you need to steal it, make them drop it, whatever it takes, right? Okay, oh my gosh, now what's the problem? Voodoo and Black Cat. Oh, so we all complain about Voodoo and Black Cat, right? So then something else starts like, well, how do you beat Voodoo and Black Cat? Oh, you bring
you run
these and you do
multi
that.
extracts. Well, so and that's the funny thing though. This is why this is actually right. Like I love this topic because, and then you said we could do a whole entire episode on this. We can,
Yeah.
but it's like you have this whole issue of where people are like, oh, I'm so tired of Voodoo and Black Cat. I'm gonna run a bunch of multi extracts. Okay, well, welcome to Grunts and Fury and just running extracts. Like it's, I think what it really comes down to, and this is just a general, I guess, mindset when it comes to when I look at extracts and secures is just play what's good for your team. Like don't try to counter the meta because you're going to create a new meta by countering the meta, and it's just gonna like there's so much groupthink in this game between TTS or your local scene that if everybody is saying we should only play this because it's gonna make this go away, that's not the case. You're gonna just create a new boogeyman. You're just gonna create the next big problem. Like Black Cat and Voodoo wouldn't be so like egregious or like this like big scary thing if people didn't just say, hey, everybody's playing single extracts. But I guarantee next TTS season, everybody's gonna be playing multi extracts, and then Fury's gonna be the menace. Like that's what it's gonna be.
Yep. And like it's not even like Black Cat and Voodoo are bad at multi extracts. I didn't have a single extract in my list for season 7, and I was running both Voodoo and Black Cat to great success. But yeah, single extracts. My biggest issue with them is the way they're obtained. Sam and I were both talking about our love for senators, because assuming no chicaneries happens, no one likes mark their tokens, which is just a lame thing to do.
Don't do that.
Yeah,
don't be
just
that
like
guy.
doing
Come on.
the shell game. That's the best way to do it. Having it just be on a crit sucks.
Yeah.
Because what'll happen, and I saw this happen in multiple games during my run, is like in season 7. I mean, is someone will find it on the opposite, like the wrong side of the board, quote unquote, and they just win the game.
Yeah.
So like someone just moving up and getting that 20% roll to find the scroller or whatever turn 1. This may be a controversial opinion, but that's not fun. That sucks.
Okay,
Especially
so
when it's Toad.
I have an idea for you guys. What if I hate doing this, but it just spawned in my head, and I'm just like, this is actually kind of an interesting thought. What if it was not necessarily the multi extracts, but like different, like let's say we make the single extracts a shell game, because I think that's fine and dandy. It's completely random, like it's not dice related. It's just like it's more luck of the draw, not really RNG based, just who finds it. And it's more realistic in real life because like it's like not really a skill check to who finds it. It's just like who got lucky to find it. I think that's kind of more fun. But where I think you could do the roll to find it would be something like capture the flag or herbs. I think that would be kind of cool. Is you have to roll to find the herb and then get it back, because if that probably actually fix herbs, to be completely honest. Because you can't guarantee getting it round one. Just a quick thought. I was like, maybe capture the flag would be kind of cool because you gotta like take the flag out of it, and you gotta do a skill check for that. Like pushing rebel a lot to the side to see if you're finding the right thing. That's not a skill check. That's luck. So if you want to be like a thematic thinking about it, I think it should be like, what are you doing for this objective piece, like in your head canon, and like relate it to that. So if like the Kree core, like that's not a skill check. That's like, oh, I got lucky and found the Kree core. The scroll, that's not a skill check. I guess that one could be a skill check because you're trying to see if it's like deceiving you or whatnot.
We're kind of just passing the buck though. Like we're saying, oh, I don't like this here. Let's put it somewhere else and see if it changes things. I'd rather just not have a mechanic in the game where you have to roll and try and get points, because it doesn't make it any more lucky if it's somewhere else.
I like it.
Oh,
I like rolling dice.
I like the random chance for it. I like that it's takes all the skill out of the game because it is a razor's edge, right? So the first time, like, do I want to go up and check this? Like, I don't even know if I want to check it. Is this just like, am I trying to get the core or the scroll? Now, don't get me wrong. I prefer the senator. I like the senator, but we don't need 3 senators at 14, 17, and 20 points, right? So I'm completely okay with the scroll and the alien ship being a random find. I have lost so many games to that random character, the worst possible character, picking that thing up at the most inopportune time in the round. I've gotten knocked out of cuts. I've lost tournaments. I have lost like so many games to it, but I enjoy that razor's edge feel to it, because if my opponent is savvy enough to save their venom for the second to last activation, and that's the first time that they check for the core, like, good job, man. Like, and then you got lucky enough, like, oh God, it hurts my soul and it burns me to the core. But that's this game. I've had just as many games that swing on like this was a huge spike or a huge defense or a huge flop of dice at some point in the game. And in my opinion, it doesn't take skill out of it. It changes the skill set from being I'm going to, play these odds. I'm going to position my models to take advantage of this, positioning of your models. And it basically puts the game on this dynamic tilt where you don't know until you know. And I know that that's like a dumb Yogi Berra-ism, but like that's the kind of thing that is like one of the draws for me to this game. So I've played a lot of core and a lot of scrolls, and I'll tell you what, I have sworn off of them for like 6 months at a time. Just be like, nope, I'm not going to bring that crap. I don't want to deal with it. If you bring it, then I'm going to do my best. But that's my take. So I understand the perspective that they're lame and they're broke or they're this or they're that. I definitely don't think that they should be in every roster and that everyone should just be like bringing those and playing them or, like jamming those all the time. I think that we really need to spice that up as a community and be like, you know what, maybe this is, it's one thing or another. And, you can win a whole tournament just by, throwing those things out there and seeing where it goes. You can also lose out on the day after having a really great, like perfect run. And then it winds up on Toad or Venom or somebody else that you just can't deal with that day. So
I wish they were more punishing, because I'll say that much.
Yes.
To finish this thought, because like that's why Senators, in my opinion, is the best one, because if you're holding that Senator, you have this huge debuff on you.
Hot as potato.
Yeah, being a slow mover or taking 1 damage if you don't attack, and like only having 1 move or whatever, that's like annoying. But well, like that's so easy to mitigate.
Not only that, but like how many times have you been playing a game of Kree Core and the person forgets, or even yourself forgets that it's only 1 move? Like,
Every
that's
time.
that's it. Same thing with Senator though, right? Like I think it didn't matter. Dizzard, we played a game in one of the 1-day tournaments that we did, and one of us forgot on one turn. Like it didn't matter in the end. Like it just was what it was. But like you're like, oh crap, that's a short move.
Whoops.
Whoopsie daisy. Guess I moved twice.
Real quick.
I play spiders all the time, and I forget to roll for spiders all the time.
How do you
all
do
the
that?
time.
That one's easy. That one's easy. You get out of here.
Yeah.
I know I'm just a bad cheater. I'm sorry.
It's
Right.
okay.
That's I like spiders because it's one of those things, or sorry, spider portals, not spider infected, not spider portals for anybody paying attention. That's one of those things where I like that because it does make you like interface with your opponent during a phase of the game versus this where you're like in the heat of the moment and you just gotta remember, right? Or taking that damage from the core, which can get uncomfortable, as minor inconvenience as it can be, sometimes it can be game deciding.
Absolutely. So we need to do another intermission real quick. So because we did the first one so quick. All right, we'll be right back.
I had no idea I was going to be the contrarian tonight.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. You can. I mean, it's. I think it's valid points. Like, it's not like it's anything crazy, but like, I definitely think it's interesting to talk about. This is why
This
is why we don't talk single extracts, because it could be a whole episode, and that's
same, right? Yeah, exactly.
It will be a whole episode in the future.
Yeah, right.
I can feel that one coming.
That's fair. All right, I'm gonna hit record because we only get 40 minutes. We shouldn't need another whole 40 minutes. We're almost done with extracts. So, all right, hitting the button.
Recording in progress.
All right, back to it. We really need to figure this out, though. I don't know. I feel bad every time we have to do it, and I'm like, let's stop the show real quick. We're in the middle of a dive, and we're talking, and we're going, and then all of a sudden, gotta stop, reset.
I think that was an all right point to switch over.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and use that to get off of the single extracts. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. So I think this is
Next
so
time.
good, though. Yeah, as I think we'll probably just do an episode on single extracts to hit that one a little bit more. So no real advice on it other than just play what you want. Let's talk about Researcher now. Because I think Researcher kind of stands in its own little category because it is the only extract that acts this way.
It's actually a secure.
It's just a secure. Yeah. That's going to come out in your card pack, Desert. Is this going to be a blue card instead?
I know, right?
And I'm like, whoopsie, we made a mistake, boys.
It's literally
not.
It's literally pushing the cart. I love it though. I love the concept of it, and I think it's a great scenario. But man, it's so easily abused.
Yeah, I like it too. It's just another thing that Criminal Syndicate stole from me.
Yeah, but I don't really think it should be looked at that way though, because like you can I've been off of like the challenge of the week. I was running Wolverine and Colossus a lot this past week, and I was running Cable Wolverine Colossus 23 at 16 Researcher, and oh my god, it made me fall in love with the
Murder
Wolverines
Patrol.
card. Like I was loving the Wolverines card. Every single game I played, it fizzled out at the end because it was one of those teams where it was like it was definitely a hair. Like it was like super fast beginning, pop Wolverines. I just dazed the whole entire enemy team. Things are going great, and then all of a sudden I lost. It's like what happened? But Researcher is interesting because I think it's something that people definitely need to like make a plan to play. Like look at your 16 Researcher, because if you can play Researcher at 16, you should be able to play it at any threat value. I think that's what you need to look at when it comes down to it. And I also only think you should be playing Researcher in your list if you have a solid plan to either score Researcher round 1, or be able to
Round
score
1.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean. Not like
Yeah.
getting it to the end,
Yeah.
but like the scoring.
yeah.
Just get it moving.
Yeah, score researcher round 1 or be able to score it round 2 and 3, and like know that for a fact you're gonna be getting it either 1 or 2 and 3. Like as long as you get it 1, it doesn't matter what happens the rest of the game, unless your opponent gets it 2 and 3. So you need either 1 and 3. God, words. I feel like for researcher you either need it
3 times.
Like
You got to get it 3 times.
Or get it once in the middle of your opponent. You can't let your opponent get 2 times in a row. If you get 2 times in a row, then that person's more than likely winning the game.
It's like turnover advantage in sports ball, right? So you need a +3 on researcher, right? So they can't score it. You have to score it 3 more times than they do, basically, right? Because you got to score it twice, and then once you start scoring it that 3rd time, it's probably your game.
Well, I think the biggest thing with researcher is as long as your opponent doesn't score it 2 turns like consecutively, then it's fine. Then it's a completely fine scenario because it's just back and forth. But that moment that like somebody scores it 2 times consecutively, as long as it's not like you almost had it all the way, then they score it 2 times consecutively, then it doesn't matter at that point because it's too late in the game. But the first 3 rounds of researcher can really decide that game, and it's insane how impactful it can be.
Oh yeah.
Now the other thing to think about is if you're playing on something like a B or a D, like I think it like people say researcher is the priority at that point, but if you run wide on a B, you can easily just outscore the researcher before it even matters. Because if your opponent goes all in on the researcher and you're just like, okay, well screw the researcher, I'm going to score all 4 points that are secures, like then now you're actually beating the researcher, and then you have a chance to go in there and steal the researcher back. So that's like
you have to get all 4 though. I'm pretty sure that if you're only getting 3, they're gonna outpace you by the end game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just something to think about.
I know I said CS stole it from me, but I also was playing it in my Avengers list to great success. My setup was I would play the Heroes for Hire, Iron Man, Sam, and Vision. And so I'd just take the middle and have Sam run in circles, scoring one other thing, and I could usually win those games.
I think Sam is the best at researcher, personally. I think Sam Avengers is the best team on researcher.
Probably, actually.
CS might get ahead early, and CS can definitely win it against non-Sam teams. They can win it against Sam teams if somebody makes a mistake or dice go crazy. But I think Sam's the best at it. Like hands down.
Yeah.
I think that researcher is a primary. I consider researcher and gamma to basically be primary objectives, right? So like, it's like, if that's on the table, that becomes the thing that, even if it's not the thing that you have to score every time, it is the thing that is going to dictate the game. Like when we first brought up talking about secures and how the importance of secures, right? So like extracts might like actually determine the winner of the game, but in my opinion, secures kind of lay out the battlefield that you're playing on. And that can be huge, right, for team construction and other aspects. So when it comes to both gamma and researcher, they're both E's. So you're going right at each other. There's not a whole lot of other options because they're so important to either score or mitigate the scoring on, that it's such an important like focus. It's the focal point of the game. And with the researcher, maybe even more so than gamma. Like I would rather tie the researcher in a lot of cases, which really bothers me because I prefer to have my games go to 16 rather than to turn 6. And I think that the best played games on Research Station and Gamma to that extent go to round 6, not to 16. So that's
the dance of those central E's is for sure super entertaining. It's a huge, it's like, and I'm not saying the rest of this game isn't like this because it's part of why I love this game in general, but the head game that you and your opponent have to go through, where it's like, if this goes right for me, I can win right now on Gamma. Right. Like where you can go from 8 to 16 in a single round. It's so much fun to try and set up. It's like it becomes like, oh, I have to stop this. This is over immediately. So like you said, if both players are doing that and it gets to round 6, you probably just have the most intense game of your week. Right.
Nobody's alive. You got like an injured an injured Ant-Man staring at like some random character on their side, and you're just like, why is it Wong and Ant-Man in Endgame? Like, what do we even do here?
Yeah. Oh. Okay, let's
Researcher.
yeah, researcher. It's fun though. It's
It
like
really brings it is.
I
It
love
is.
I love researcher. I just wish it wasn't as egregious. Like it's just certain teams and certain like the players make it
Yeah.
egregious. It's like it's
Always.
on paper.
It's
It's
always
great.
the case, yeah.
Yeah.
We're the problem.
We are the problem. We make this game not fun for ourselves.
All right. What about F-shape extracts? Let's hit that real quick. So like the multi-5 extracts. What are some things that people need to consider with this?
If you lose priority and you're running double F extracts, you will play on your extracts.
Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, also, I think just like I very rarely see, and this will probably change when Fury becomes like if people really figure out Fury, but if you win priority, you're probably freaking secures.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a lot of cases these days. It's weird. And that's another point, right? So we talked about layers earlier. Like that's something that oscillates back and forth. Like it's we were picking extracts for a long time, and now we're picking secures again.
Yeah. What about the multi extracts that aren't F shape? what's the things to think about?
Montesi? What do we got? Montesi.
Hammers.
Virus.
Oh yeah, hammers. Virus. Oh yeah, virus exists.
It really Legacy is such a dumb crisis. It just shouldn't be in the game.
I love it.
I mean,
but I won't bring it unless I've got a plan. And
yeah, I've played Legacy like 3 times, and it always ends with me scoring Legacy. I'm like, all right, cool. You want to play again? That was like 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think like my problem with Legacy, and to a certain extent with Panic, is the explanation that it takes when you're playing someone who isn't aware of all the interactions on it. And like, it's one thing to be like at the start of a game to be like, hey, do you know how this works? Yup. All right, cool, let's play. And then like all of a sudden in the middle of turn whatever, you're like, okay, well, that was fun. Good game.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with stuff like that is like just like the mid-round score out. Like that's where stuff like has an issue. If it's like goes to the end of the round and scores out, and that's when you can cash stuff in, I think that feels a lot better for a lot of people because it's still you still have an opportunity to stop it. When it's just like, all right, I just scored 8 and now I'm at 20 and I just won, and there's nothing that you can do about it. I guess that's almost a definition of an NPE, because it's like it's something that you can't do anything about at that point.
Okay, so I mean, side note, does that fix Panic and Virus if you just like push the extra scoring to the cleanup phase? So that way you got to hold on to it until then. You got to have the power at that point.
I think there's some caveats there, but for sure, like if you had to have 6 power and then choose to evacuate, or if you had to have all 3 and like no one's touched you at the end of the round, that fixes a lot of the problems for me for sure.
All right.
Well,
I don't like to talk about shits, but like that.
That's fair. All right. And the Inhumans rush was mentioned in the chat.
I commentated that game. That was such a cool game to watch.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
All right.
That's that roster.
All right. So here's a question I got for you guys. What should you be looking for when you pick these? What did I write here? Oh my god. All right.
Is it good for you? Is it bad for somebody else? Like, are you best at it? Like,
I guess that's more like the next question that kind of ties into that better. It wraps it up better, I guess.
All right.
So recognizing when a crisis is better for your opponent than you and how to overcome this. So like I think that's like one of the biggest things to come to the conclusion of is you brought these extracts, you brought these secures, like for whatever reason, and then you like realize like I think that's one of the key things that you can do in a game, especially at turn 0, is be like, my opponent's roster should beat me at this crisis setup, and what you need to do to overcome this. I think it comes back to something that we talked about in one of the earlier episodes of constantly evaluating your game state and thinking about, like, I can't point at your head, thinking about like 3 steps ahead and trying to think about what you can do to overcome your opponent's advantage that they have on this scenario. So that's just my thoughts on that. Do you guys have anything to add?
I think you basically touched on it. It's just, and also what Sam said just super briefly, it's just like, are you the best at this? Are you close to the best at this? You're good. Go for it.
I think that this is more competitive versus casual mindset than almost anything else that you can talk about. This is thinking about the game in your free time, in your spare time, in your pregame, in your turn zero, in your setup, in your deployment. Like, okay. All right, Mike, here's your real shout out. So my boy Mike, who made the Inhumans comment in the chat here, he played Inhumans for like a month and a half, and he had to explain to a fairly new X-Force player at our LVOIS like how he just won the game. So I was TOing this event, and I felt so bad for both of them. And he felt pretty crummy about it too. And I think he's sworn off Inhumans since then. But basically this guy was playing X-Force, and he's got good, competent players around him, and he's learning the game and he's picking it up really quick, but he didn't see it coming. He had no idea what this squad across the table from him was going to do. And he notices it like halfway through turn 2, which is nowhere near enough time to solve the problem by mid turn 3. And he's able to like shift everything over, and he's moving his guys and doing this stuff, and it just isn't enough. And then the game is over. And that's just that. So I say that this is a competitive and casual divide here, because if all I'm doing is like bringing my models and trying to play some Crisis Protocol, I am not going to notice like, oh, Power Gem Ronin. Oh, Eyes on the Prize. What's that do? That's neat. What pack is that? Like, oh, Sam Wilson. Okay, cool. I don't have that one. That's rad. Nifty. I don't really play Avengers. I like
Nifty. You can see the lollipop right now, dude.
Like, okay. And now, oh, wow. Like, this is a whole nother level of game. And at that point, I feel like there's a certain level of player that's just like flips the table, throws their cards, whatever you want to call it, and walks away from this game forever. And there's another level of player that's like, oh, I got to pay attention to that. I gotta look for this kind of stuff. And, I think Researcher is the same kind of gear check, where if you've never played on Researcher and you're like, oh, I just pick the thing up and I walk away. Whoa, what do you mean? I got to like stand with it and guide it to a position? Like, this is a different game. So casual, competitive, a casual player is going to have a lot of fun playing this game until they get gotcha'd. Anything that feels like a gotcha. And this game has done really good at keeping gotchas like off the table.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they're there. And like the pre-activation field dressing is a huge one.
Yep, I've had a couple of bad experiences with that one. Not like I've done it to folks like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I did not know that was not information you had access to.
Yeah. So I think that this is the kind of analysis that a competitive player does and a casual player does not. And so it's not a knock on casual play for this game. It's just recognizing kind of, and maybe casual competitive is not even the right terminology. Like it's just like, show me on the doll where Crisis Protocol has hurt you. Like how many times has this happened? Like how did it happen to you? What did you notice? What did you pick up? And I think that recognizing when you're better than someone at something is different than like wholeheartedly preventing a gotcha, like some kind of janky Juggernaut or Fury Herbs play or an Inhumans score on Virus. So I think that, sorry for all the ramble here, but basically analyzing the game, talking about the game to your friends, opponents, peers, and people who are way better or way worse than you at this game is a great opportunity to bring everybody up to a level where we can all make this same kind of analysis, whether we're competitives or casuals or, however you want to describe it. And that's my
point. Yeah, that's a good probably closing statement. Honestly, that's pretty good. I think for me, a closing statement for Crises in general would just be like, don't fall into the groupthink. Like, play what you think is good for your team. Practice it, play it. Like, don't think like, oh, I have to play all Fs because every single podcast is saying that I should be playing multi-extracts, or every single content creator is saying this, or the whole entire meta is shifting to this. Like, there's no like. I guess
we're just players too.
Yeah. Like don't fall into that group thing. Just play what you want to play, and if you think that your team is good at this, then just practice it and practice it and practice it. And if you want to like be that competitive player, practice it, understand what teams could be better at you, and then how you beat them on it. So understand your crises and why you're bringing them, and find your advantages on the crises. Don't fall into the group think. Like we're just.
I want to pounce on that. Like don't listen to anyone.
Yeah,
honestly,
not even us.
Like play, like literally, yes. Like podcasters are all just people who play this game and have enough
Mhm.
time to think about it, maybe a little bit more than you do. If you like have never played something, but like someone on so and so podcast said this is what you should be playing with X team,
Yep.
please play it before you decide that we're correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, there's an episode of the Danger Room where they get into some amazing strategy and tactics on like how to handle a B or a D scenario. And that advice is spot on. And I literally watched a game where a guy deployed all of that advice and got demolished because he deployed that advice.
I remember that episode. That was a good one.
No information is total, right? Like,
Yeah.
You gotta analyze and annihilate, right?
I mean that
there
also,
we go.
That also comes back to like what I think it was our first episode where it's talking about like the unknown variables of the game. Like just because I've had this experience of the game, this is my thought process, doesn't mean it's the same experience that you're gonna have. So
right.
like
Yeah.
that's
We would
like
all
one
play
of the
the
biggest
same list
things.
differently. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so play what you want, practice it, and get good with what you want to play. It doesn't matter whether it's X Force or or whatever it is you want to
Something
play.
else, yeah.
Yeah,
Some
like
weird
this-
other team.
or Inhumans. Like play. I guess that's probably like my biggest takeaway from this episode of the main topic of crises is don't fall to groupthink. Like play what you want to play. If you're looking for advice of like what to play, then like talk. Like Discords are great for this. Like be like, hey, I have this
Yeah.
roster. What do you guys think of this? And then listen to like people's advice and then try it out. If you don't think it's working for you, like don't think it's you. Think it's something's just wrong with your list. Like
Yeah.
nobody's like a terrible player.
So, I mean, you mentioned this earlier about people complaining about crisis. This is like almost related to what you said. One of the, I've heard the same complaint that you mentioned about people being like, "Oh, there's not enough crises in the game, right?
Yeah.
We need more variety in our crises." But like, I think that we need more variety as players in our crisis selection. Like,
Yes.
just be ruthless with that stuff. Like, hey, like I lost the game on this. Like, see you later. Let's throw something else in there this week and just see what happens.
Mhm.
And I'm a huge fan of targeted practice. Like, let's play a specific setup. Like, you want to try this, you want to try X and Y, like let's try X and Y. You want to try A and B, let's try A and B. Like let's do, whatever it is. That's all. Just be ruthless with your crisis selection in your own rosters. Like, don't give up on your selection of characters so much as you just like swap out some crises and try something different next week.
Facts. All right. Let's move on. Sam, you have the sales pitch of the week.
Oh man, well, I am in perfect sales pitch mood now. So my sales pitch this week is about Deadpool. So why should you put Deadpool on the table? He has a very particular set of skills. The first of which is he's recognizable because he's freaking Deadpool, man. Like, people walk up to a game, you're like, what is that? Oh, it's Deadpool, right? Maybe you don't love the model. Or maybe you do, exactly because of that. Like, I also love Deadpool because he is incredibly hobby friendly. He's got so many build options just built into the model. You can like just do a Deadpool search on like Reddit or any Discord or the Facebook group, and you can find like people taking My Little Pony and this and that and other things. Like, he's a 3-threat model that has like debatably very little impact on the board, but he's Deadpool, man. So like, you do cool things with Deadpool and you're happy to put him on the table because he's Deadpool. He also comes with lots of extra body parts because he's so posable, which means you've got other cool things to do for your Lockjaw or your Juggernaut or so many other models to just be ripping him in half and enjoying every second of it. He brings so many tacos to the table. You can put him with all those extra beer bottles you've got from all of the different sprues. Then on top of that, he comes with free terrain. You can say he's expensive, but he comes with a taco truck.
It's not free, but I do love that taco truck. I
And
also love Bob.
And Bob. You can't forget
Sorry,
Bob.
this is
Also
your
Bob.
pitch. I'm being quiet.
Hey, no. See, I feel like I've already won. I've already sold you on this.
I already have
put
him.
Deadpool and Bob in, like all my I love Deadpool and Bob. They're so fun.
So on the table, he brings some incredible power management to your team, which is a really interesting ability that not a lot of characters bring to the table, right? You've got Loki, who's got some other stuff, that's going to tax your opponents and, root a few conditions, right, that a few models can bring. But Deadpool literally just like looks at a model and makes them lose power. That's an incredible ability. He has low healthy side health. He's only got 4 health on his healthy side, which like maybe that's a liability. Sure, but he's Deadpool. But also it means that they're not going to gain more than 4 power when they do something terrible to him. You're not just going to get one shot and just like bloat them with power. He's got access to exceptional healing because of healing factor. So that's like they only get 1 power, right? Now they've got to attack Deadpool twice. Deadpool and his whopping 4 health has to get attacked twice to get dazed if you've got power for exceptional. Then on top of that, he's got absolutely no hangups, right? So like he just like sucks power off of your opponent's people with that extra power, right? So he's just like doubling down on power management. He's got a healing factor of 2. So if he's not dead, he's probably healthy. And if you run him away from the battle, he's probably going to heal up really quick. If you're having trouble with getting pushed or advanced off of points, he's literally immune to that. Like he's fine. Don't worry about it. If they got a superpower that's going to move them off a point, it's not going to happen. Now, if it's a physical or an energy attack with a push, okay, like we got like other things to talk about there, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about those nasty mystic attacks. He's got 4 mystic defense, and he's not getting pushed or advanced by that attack. Like take that, Ebony Maw, Space Maw, eat it, right? I got a Deadpool for you. Omega Red, suck it. We're not worried about it. Enchantress, you don't impress me much. Now, on top of that, he's got a healthy side spender that's going to drop not 1, but 2 conditions, bleed and slow. It's going to take you longer to get where you're going. And it's almost like a stagger at that point, right? Because like you're either going to shake 1 and take a damage, or you're going to have to like double stagger, shake both. Oh man, that's good stuff. He's got rerolls. Who doesn't love rerolls? And to top it all off, everybody loves Avengers, and guess who's affiliated?
Ooh.
Deadpool.
That's it. Do you want to buy Deadpool? Put him on the table. Put him on the table. He's a choice. He's like Punisher. You're going to make a choice if you're putting him on the table. But he's got a lot of tools, and his model's actually, really, really fun to play with.
So I'll add this back when Sword was super popular gear check and Enchantress was not once per turn. I love Deadpool. I would play Deadpool more than Domino back in those days because he actually won me games on Sword. Because he's cheap and he can't be moved. I love Deadpool though. I keep trying to find reasons to put him back in X-Force, but he's like always my 11th slot. It's sad.
He's not in your X-Force list?
Not right now.
Sadness in your voice was palpable. I love it.
He's the first character. It's Cable and Deadpool.
I mean, comics.
Handful of characters with a range 4 attack. He's one of them.
Bane's great. I will say this: if anybody's looking to play Deadpool, run Cable Zemo Deadpool. I call it Fortress. I call it Fortress Deadpool.
There you go.
Because Deadpool just won't die because you have 5 defense because of Cable Shield, Zemo reroll, Deadpool reroll. Like he just survives, and it's super annoying for your opponent because you're like, this guy should die right now because it's only 4 health, and he just lives. I will also say Deadpool is just amazing on his backside. I love his backside. But anyways, let's
always healthy. I forgot that. Sorry, he's always healthy when it counts. And what that means is that he can be healthy contesting that point and get a +4 die Thanos death decree.
This is completely accurate. I want to take this moment to clear something up about his spender maximum effort, I think it's called.
Yeah.
He damages himself. So he always gets an extra power from that attack. So he's always getting at least 1 back. It also means that if you have 5 damage on him, you can't use it because you'll kill yourself, which is pretty Deadpool.
Unless that's what you want to do.
Yeah, unless that's what you want to do. But you can like walk up, spender, move on to a point with the wild trigger and like daze 2 people and then heal the full. That's great. And then you'll have like 2 power after, or like 3 power after all of that. He's wonderful.
I love his spender. It's one of my favorites. Like it's so deceptive. Like his maximum effort spender though, like it's super deceptive because your opponent's like, how did like 3 of my characters just die? Like what just happened?
Yeah. And it's a reposition.
God, it makes me want to play him again. I keep trying to find room for him, but whatever. All right, hobby corner. Sam, do you want to talk about our new thing we're going to be setting up?
All right, so we're going to set up an accountability club. Accountability club, right? Here's the idea, guys. So we all failed in our hobby goals. So here's the first shame list, right? So like shame, finger guns, shame, Dizzard, shame, Hyper Viper. None of us succeeded this week. Here's the idea behind accountability club. Every month, first of all, you got to sign up for accountability club. All right. Second, set a goal. Number 2, a painting or hobby goal, right? Number 2, paint it, prepare it, whatever you got to do it to your standard, right? So if that's just like contrast, and you're done, like whatever, F it, we're done. If it's contrast and dry brush, if it's like every edge highlight you could ever imagine and like 15 layers and glazing, like whatever your hobby goal is, you're setting your own standard, do it. You've got 1 month. At the end of the month, if you don't succeed in your goal, you're going to get shamed. Shamed. Now, at some point, there might be a reward, and it might be a really cool reward.
It's a really cool reward. It's a really cool reward. It's gonna make me actually do whatever I set my goal to be. No spoilers, but like, it's really cool.
And if you're not in the accountability club, you're not going to get this reward. Period. That's
but you will get shamed.
But you will definitely get shamed if you don't follow your goals, right? So like follow your dreams, guys, sign up for accountability club, and let's get some cool hobby stuff out there. So post pictures in the Discord. Like basically the idea is post stuff in the Discord. Like every month there'll be a room in the server, and what you're going to do is you're going to say, this is my goal. And then by the end of the month, you got to post a picture of that goal being done.
I'm gonna do y'all one better. I'm gonna continue endorsing Sam's thing here. Nice. This is gonna be a semi-private channel, right? Like to sign up for it for the club.
Oh yeah, you got to be in accountability club in order to see the channel.
So accountability club, if we actually do that merch and it's what I think it's gonna be, I'll do a fucking face reveal when I get my first thing done in that private little Discord tab. I'll post a picture of myself, whatever I did, and the glorious result of your trials and tribulations.
Isn't there a picture of you at LVO?
Yeah, that's probably somewhere on other Discords, but it's not about that. It's about the message. Thanks, Dizzard.
You're welcome. All right. Speaking of Hyper Viper, you got challenge of the week this week. What do you got for everybody?
I want some Inhumans. I was thinking about this all day. I've been like, my buddy's been building Inhumans. It doesn't have to be mono, and it doesn't have to be like, because like everyone knows the legacy stuff. If you can build an Inhumans list that just has game and that's not like just win, like if you just think they can actually do what a lot of folks do, which is just like actually play out the game, that's what I'm looking forward to. And I think maybe a little bit of a hinty hint. I think Baron Zemo, Black Bolt running around killing people sounds pretty fun.
Hell yeah. We need to get some games of us playing our challenge rosters. These ones that we've been like, all right, I like that one.
We should do that more often.
Yeah, somebody had fronted that with these challenge of the weeks that we should like take the list that we like and actually play a game with it on the stream. So
I think we've got enough now. I think we could actually do it. You know, like when it was just like one or two, like that's not like
we could like literally take like the fastball specialist against the what was it? One
control defenders.
Yeah, control defenders. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're gonna go ahead and hit some listener questions while we still have some time on the Zoom call, because I'm not going to do another one. So let's do this real quick. So real quick answers on these ones. From Red Fury, have grunts changed the dynamics of the game as much as might have anticipated? Have you seen a shift where you are teching for grunt plays? I'll just answer this one real quick for me personally. I don't really think so. I think that they are something to think about, but I don't necessarily think I'm bringing anything specifically to tech against grunts. But they are something that you should be thinking about in your gameplay, but I don't think your roster construction needs to revolve around grunts by any means.
I don't think you need them, but you need to be prepared for them. I think that's fair. I also think that in the same way that Voodoo and Enchantress have been the previous kings and queen of the game, like it's gonna happen. Fury's gonna be the top picked splash character in season 8.
Facts.
I treat it like I treat it like that adolescent game of Marry, F, and Kill, where I want to kill Fury and I want to F Electra, not because of anything other than I literally just like want to ignore her, like for the most part, you know, or just delete her, and then you know, just basically just whatever. Electra's Electra, and Shadowlands Daredevil I literally don't want to interact with unless I have to. So he's getting married.
All right, fair enough. All right, Matematic. One change to Cyclops, Wolverine, and Colossus. What do you do? Colossus is easy. Give him a medium move. That's all he needs. Wolverine, give him either invulnerability or a reroll. And Cyclops, make his field leader cost 1 less. And maybe slightly different leadership. I don't really know what else to do about Cyclops. Make field leader 2. I think he'd be great with that. That's probably it. Cyclops is fine. Don't worry about him.
Yeah, all those get a finger bite from me, so I endorse those.
Fair.
I think Wolverine with the invulnerability would be pretty nasty. I'd rather him just have a reroll because I think that's also good on offense. But I assumed he was going to have the thing when he came out and he didn't. I was like, oh, I still like him because he's Wolverine. I like Wolverine.
Yeah, he's fine. His biggest issue is consistency, and the reroll increases that consistency. The next one is, what innate mutant power would you give all the mutants similar to Inhumans or Asgard? I think this one's super easy. Just give them all, extra power like Asgard, in my opinion. Like, yeah, it's a copycat, but it's like this is like part of who they are. Like, is their superpower? Like, I think giving them an extra power to use those superpowers would make the team feel better.
Okay. Sam, you want to take this one? But I think I need a moment to collect my thought on that question.
Sure, I'll take it, but mine's really like straightforward and smooth grained. Like this is one of the like rare moments for me where like I really appreciate the devs from AMG, and I'm not trying to be a shill, but like mutants are fine.
Well,
sorry.
Okay, I will say I completely agree with you. I'm humoring the question. I'm having a lot of fun with mutants.
Oh wow! Oof! Okay,
humoring the question.
I would love to see something synergistic, a little more synergistic than spending power through Cyclops' leadership. I'd like to I was just reading some New Mutants the other night, and like they did like a whole issue on like mutants working together and how their powers combine. Yeah. I don't know how the hell you pull that off in game mechanics, but that would be super cool if there was more like you'd have to just bake it in. It would be like Rogue's Tactics card, right? Where it's like, where she pulls, this power from somebody and does this, like something like that, like a little more in that, where like you literally would have to have had like all the mutants out, and you're just like, okay, like when these two mutants are on the table, like they can each spend 1 power and do this cool thing together if they're within a certain range. So something synergistic that is basically impossible to put into game design.
All right.
Before X-Men came out, my idea for Storm or like Cyclops' leadership was that like, because the X-Men more so than any other Marvel team are really all about working together, I thought they were going to have some mechanic where like, if there were a certain number of people close to them, like within a certain distance, they would get like extra dice on attack and defense.
Yeah.
That'd
be
fair.
Cool.
Yeah. But the way I would, if we give them mutant tagline, it would be Inhumans plus Asgardians, because mutants are cool.
All right, fair enough. All right, JMR Hode, classify major archetypes and who is best at each. I think we're going to save this one for an actual episode, because I think talking archetypes could be a long discussion. But I just want you to know that we saw your question and we're going to make an episode out of it probably.
It's actually very simple. It's tank, mage, DPS. Next question.
That's how it works. Anyways, the Dojo
Destiny.
Or any RPG ever made. Thank you.
The Dojo Jake, what makes you choose a faction for competitive play? And once you decide on what decisions are you making while picking your roster, what factors into cutting in the finals, models, and cards? For me, picking a faction for competitive play, I find something, I like it, and then I throw it away for X-Force. I mean, in all reality, that's what happens. Like, I took Shield and I was running Shield. Like, I might be taking Shield and Nova, and then next thing I know, I'm back to building X-Force rosters.
That was the least committal might I've ever heard in my entire life.
I mean,
I might be taking it to Nova. I'll see you with Cable at Nova.
As somebody who creeped on a whole bunch of Dizzards practice games going into NashCon last year, he was literally swapping out like 3 to 4 characters from his roster between every single test game. It was amazing. And I loved how you just had like an entire diatribe about like why you were going to bring Person X. And then like by the end of that game, you were like, all right, I'm going to bring in Nova now. I think that if I bring in Nova here, then
that's awesome. What happens. I'm probably going to be just ramming X-Force games until Nova, and that's what's going to happen. Like, how do I choose a faction for competitive? I just look at X-Force and say that's what I'm taking. Like, I play other stuff, but X-Force is what it is. All right, you two, go quick. We got 2 minutes.
Holy crap. That's an episode, in my opinion. My personal take is I look at characters that I want to play. I look at characters that I want to play together, and then I see what works with them. And sometimes it's a competitive roster and sometimes it isn't. And I'll just jam games with it until I don't anymore. Like I don't have an answer for you, Jake. Jake's one of my guys. That's an episode, in my opinion.
We can save that one for we can save it too. I can give a for real answer when it comes to like building the roster too. So
Yeah.
all right, Hyper, what you got?
The past 3 seasons, it's been what is new and shiny for me. So like
Yeah.
I played Brotherhood and I played Midnight Suns, and then most recently I was playing Avengers because I was like, ooh, Steve and Hulk.
Completely fair.
So yeah, that's really all I got. New shiny.
What's funny
How many
is
games did you play Sam last season?
Probably like most of them, but I actually, but here's the thing. I had, like I said earlier, I had 2 ways of playing. I played Sam if I just like didn't know it was coming, or I played Steve and stole the entire game and made people really upset.
fair enough. All right, one last one. From Red Mist, mentioning the Convocation roster build, would Colossus work in the roster? Physical protection and a tank spot. Clea helps him get around and bar with no doors, and he can hang around with magic for fun. I think it's worth trying. Like I've been having a lot of fun with Colossus lately, and I think a lot of people's opinions on him are completely underrated. Yeah, he's slow, and I wish he had a medium move, but with how he is, he's fine. Like he plays okay.
Yeah.
He does what he needs to do. He sits there and he takes damage. I was playing a game against Kirkov from Taco Truck, and he was like Colossus just soaked 8 hits, and he's still on his healthy side. Like,
Yeah, no, bodyguard and that leadership place are super cool.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting interaction.
Ooh,
Put it on the
cool.
table, man.
Yeah, I can't play Colossus because he can't throw, and it makes me sad.
he could throw train.
Yeah, it makes me sad.
Okay.
He
All right.
staggers.
He does. I love his spinner. His spinner is super good. 3 power for a
spinner's
wild
super
stagger. Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap up. Thank you for stopping by to watch or listen to our content, and we truly hope you enjoyed it. And so yeah, I'm gonna end it there because we're about to run out of time.
We're the
Thanks,
rogue agents and you're
Bye.
the listener.
Oh, yeah, we are the rogue agents, and you are the listener.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
Maximum effort. In this war, there's no surrender. He's out of line, but he's right. Who the hell is Bucky?
You don't like a fair fight.
I think you're wrong. Which part? All of it.
Think you're the only superhero in the world?
Touche.